Here.
Ms. Simons.
Here.
Mr. Ziegler. Mr. Fenstermaker. Mr. Hamer.
Here.
Mr. Schultz.
Here.
Mr. Smolik.
Here. On to the reading and approval of the minutes of April 7th, 2005 Finance Committee meeting. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Simons and Ms. Grazia with the second. Any discussion, changes? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Okay, on to the reading and approval of the minutes of the April 7th, 2025 council meeting. Looking for a motion to pass. Or
Motion to
approve.
approve.
Second.
Who made the motion? Matt? Julie second?
Matt, yep, I second
Okay.
it.
Any discussion or changes? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Okay, on to department reports. Chief Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. Smolik. No formal report tonight. Just to update council, we'll be adding our new full-time firefighter. Kirtland resident Will Davidson has been going through the process. He should be ready to go next meeting, so hopefully we'll get him sworn in May. That's really all I have for tonight, and I'm open for any questions.
Tony said full-time?
And was he part-time with us and being brought up, or?
Yes, Will, he's been part-time with us for about a year and a half. He just became a paramedic probably 6 months ago. He became one of our part-time dependables. So he's been going through a pretty rigorous training program, and he'll be ready to go in May, ready to step right in.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions for Chief Hutton? Thank you, Chief. Chief McAllister.
Thank you, Councilman Smolik. So a few things. We recently recertified with our Ohio Collaborative, which is basically a state-run review board that comes in and makes sure that you're compliant in high liability areas, including policy, best practices, review. We certified in all of their standards. The jail also recently passed its certification for the year, so we are able to continue running the jail for another year. And just right before the meeting, I sent out our annual report to everybody on council and all the department heads. And that will conclude everything I have, but I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
Chief, it's nice to see you back in council chambers. How's your hip?
Yes, my questions would just be any issues with the going on with the Hobart, with the detour and stuff through there. And second question would be, how's the finished up with your rec room over there?
In terms of Hobart, it's kind of as expected. We have a big detour of traffic going down the street. We've had several complaints. I know we talked about it, and you've seen Wait Hill there a lot. Our officers and all their free time are spending time on Hobart doing traffic control and enforcement. We have the speed signs up on the street, really doing everything we can on our end to make sure the traffic stays as safe as possible for the residents in that area. In terms of the office over there, we're still waiting on the cabinets to come in. I think once that's done, we'll schedule the installation, and we'll get you guys over to take a look at it.
Much appreciated, Chief. The traffic sign, is that that battery solar powered? I noticed it was off when I went by later last night. You guys turn it off for a stretch, or you got to charge it, or?
We'll have to pull it. It's a cell battery that's in it,
Oh,
so we'll
okay.
have to pull that out and recharge it and get it back up again.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Thanks, Chief. Mr. Fernaro.
Good evening, everybody. We officially put an end to winter. Last Friday, the mayor joined us for our post-winter wrap-up, which was some good feedback from the crew. Like to thank the crew for a great job they always do. Baseball's up and running. Soccer has been painted. And grass, we started cutting grass and working on some stormwater projects. We did receive a $75,000 grant from Ohio EPA for salt reduction. So we're looking into ways to improve our brine making operation. That completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fernaro. Any questions for Mr. Fernaro?
Mr. Farmer, was the grant solely tied to the reduction of salt as in terms of using brine? Because isn't brine more salty? Or did
No,
I misunderstood?
it's actually less salting, but yes, it's tied into a brine making operations, either through controls or a brine maker.
Okay. Because or are you thinking about expanding the brine maker?
We're thinking about improving our brine maker right now. I don't know if you remember. So all our stuff it's from the 90s that we got from Euclid because they were getting rid of it. So we kind of rehabbed it and got it to work. We currently don't have a water line that feeds that. So right now we're running, thanks to the fire department, fire hoses across the parking lot, which in the wintertime is not really a lot of fun. So one thing off the top of my head was be to try to run a water line to that brine maker.
Right. So it's study and actual capital.
Yeah,
improvement.
and improving our controls. So right now I can't report to you how much liquid we're putting. Our controls don't do that. So we're looking to upgrade our controls in our trucks also.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Good job.
Any other questions for Mr. Fenaro?
Joe, I do have a couple things. So thanks for coming out Sunday to take a look at that sinkhole. I know my neighbor really appreciates it. I didn't know if you got a chance to talk to Mr. Tomzik about that wooden culvert that he spoke, that I mentioned on,
You're gonna forward me a number or contact for him.
okay, so he has reached out to you?
He has not.
All right, I'll get after him. I haven't seen him. Last thing, relative to the Pat Flowers, a few months ago, I inquired if there was an opportunity for you to try to get into an MOU with other communities to try to stretch some dollars. Any success on that?
No success. I did reach out to a few, didn't hear back, but we'll look into it for next year. Start a little earlier in the process.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Their programs have to become synced with ours, or ours with theirs, so, but just look, thanks for trying.
Yep, absolutely. We'll keep going at it next year too. We'll give it another shot.
Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. A dear friend of mine, is not a Kirtland resident, but was in an accident pulling out of State Farm on Route 6, and she's an older, seasoned person, and she said that she felt that there was limited sight distance pulling out of the State Farm across from Circle K. I'm losing it right now. Kirtland Mart, right? Looking eastbound. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know if it's the pertinences in the frontage of the establishment that block it, because she says there's like a curve, and I'm like, I'll just pass it along.
Yeah, we'll take
and
a
let
look.
you guys take a look
Yeah,
at
we'll
it.
take a look.
Tree or shrub obstruction?
That's the only thing I'm thinking
Okay.
of. But what kind of car should
Mr. Schultz, where'd you say the sinkhole was at that you brought up sinkhole?
Ron's, the property south of
Oh, okay.
Ron.
Thank you.
That got called in for oops today. We should be there maybe Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't hit it in his mower, because that one would have been bad. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any other questions for Mr. Fenaro? Mr. Fenaro, asphalt plant started, they opened up last week or this week? Okay. Will we be starting a little bit, when we start a little patching then, or?
Yeah, right now we're still doing brush pickup.
Okay.
We have
We got
wards
through next week?
1 and 2 to go through. Yeah, we usually do it another week to make one final round.
Gotcha.
They're working on dry pipes right now. They completed 1 last week. They're doing 2. They did 1 today, 1 tomorrow, and then we'll start getting into asphalt.
Pretty cooperative with the brush pickup, everybody keeping it?
Yeah.
Get any stumps or big piles?
No, so far so good.
Thank you, Mr. Fenaro. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Easter. So for the 2025 streets, Kirtland Chardon Road paving and the 306 sewer extension, we're waiting for proposals for subsurface exploration on those. For Kirtland Chardon and 25 streets, it'll be pavement coring and subgrade testing. For the 306 sewer, it'll be a little more involved because we have to go to at least the depth of the sewer. For the 25 streets, we would like some results back from that testing before we go to bid. So I'm targeting early June for an advertisement date for the streets.
Doug, just to be really clear, when you say the 25 streets, you mean 2025 streets that are getting done, not
Correct.
doing 25
Not the
streets,
number.
right?
not
Okay.
the- Yes, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I was just like, whoa.
Point of clarification.
Yes, clarity
must
of
be real
language is
little.
important in that, yeah. Kirtland Chardon Road, we're moving along with some of the ODOT paperwork to get that over. The survey work is still being mapped by the aerial mapping company, and we have some field survey work that's being done to kind of tie down the control for that. Wisner Wall, a request for pre-funding has been submitted to Lake County Stormwater for the design side of that. So should be hearing something shortly back from them on that one, and then you'll ultimately see an MOU for the stormwater funding for the design. And street standards, no update tonight for that one. Can you take any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Any questions for Mr. Courtney?
This can be either for Mr. Courtney or the mayor. So you started the engineering relative to the 306 sewer extension, correct? Surveying, engineering,
Not
That's correct.
conceptually, yes.
conceptually.
For
What is the cost of that?
for
conceptual?
preliminary
I guess,
design.
are we getting way ahead of ourselves here relative to that entire project and expending engineering dollars on a maybe, right? That's what I'm concerned about.
Well, if you spend engineering dollars now and for some reason the funding for construction doesn't come through on the timeline we want it, you haven't wasted those design dollars. You've just spent less money for the design than you would in the future because of inflation. So, you know, to hit the marks that we need to hit, we need to move on that project from a design side.
Okay, so what was your conceptual cost estimate for that?
Well, what's the budget for this year?
It was in the budget.
Yeah, it was in the budget. For design
discussed during the
services for
budget.
this year, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
For design services for this year is in the budget for this year.
Any other questions? Any other questions for Mr. Courtney? Thank you, Doug. On to Mr. Lallo.
Thank you, Mr. Smolik. Just a few activities that's been happening. Dealing with EPA and resident issue, trying to get that all cleared up and help the resident there. Public record requests, drainage issues, pretty standard stuff. Nothing significant to write home about unless you have a question for me.
Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Any questions for Mr. Lallo? Thank you. Mr. Wolf, any updates for the community senior center?
Thank you. Just a few quick updates. More thank yous than anything. Thankful that the weather's changing and Mr. Farrar was able to get the contractors out and they are working on fixing the community center building front that was damaged from last year's storms. Everyone was very excited to see them today. And a thank you to Frank and Mimi, the owners of Casa Rosa. Last Thursday, they had an impromptu senior luncheon. There were about 25 of us that went and got to sample some of the food before they started their soft openings this week. So it was delicious. We're very excited for them to open up next week. I'm already ready to make reservations. And on Saturday, the Mayor's Action Network started yard cleanups. Unfortunately, we did get rained out. Storm turned kind of nasty, so we were able to get mostly through the list. We do have a few to finish, and I've already made contact with those residents and let them know that we're working on coming up with a new date, and I will let them know when that is. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Any questions? Thank you, Julie. On to Mayor Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Smolik, Councilman Smolik. Just quickly, I wanted to thank Chief McAllister for another great annual report. Obviously, when you take a look at that, you see that it takes not only a lot of time, but it's incredibly comprehensive, well thought out, well planned, and jives with what the core values that our police department has taken on over the last few years. So thanks to the chief on that. Thanks to Julia for all of her coordination with both the Easter egg hunt and this previous weekend's Mayor's Action Network yard cleanups. It's a lot of extra work, and her coming in early on a couple of Saturdays is much appreciated. And your point about the yard cleanups, yeah, we'll just figure out what the next day is, and we'll let all the council folks know, and maybe some of them can be there.
Thank you, Mayor Potter. Any questions for the mayor?
Mayor, do we have an update on the Richards Maple situation with the fence coming down? And has Lenny given any kind of update on what the status of that situation is?
So we were all copied on the email from Lake County's inspector. I have reached out 3 times to him, didn't get an answer back. Lenny tried Thursday and Friday last week. I did not reach back out to Lenny. So the update right now is it's the same as it was before. We did have Lake County out there. I'm sure everybody on council was copied on that email.
And to be clear, the city does not have a building department. So with fences that are going to be exceed 6 feet in height or 8 feet in height, you need to get a county building permit. And so that's where that issue took place. Is there was a permit pulled there, and the question is on enforcement or how the county wants to interpret or deal with that. And then once we get a cue from the county as to how they want to go forward with it, then we can react or pivot from there. But right now we're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting on the county to kind of indicate what happens next. Does that sound about right, Mr. Fernando?
Perfect.
So is our recommendation to the resident at this point that they reach out to the county if they have additional questions related to how this is being?
They can, but I'm telling you, I've been trying, and I'll keep trying for them. So if I do hear something, I'll report back to you.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not questioning your integrity on that at all. I'm just saying if we get questions about what they do next, that would be the talk to the county. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Any other questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mayor. Okay, now we're on to standing committee reports. Any standing committee reports? I believe we have any active ones going on right now. Okay, on to correspondence. Utilities Commission 25-R-1. Mr. Lell will just read the first page off, should I, with the rights?
You do not need to read it. You just need to acknowledge receipt of it,
Okay.
right? If you want, you could go over it in the
Okay.
recommendation.
So basically, this was the Public Utilities Commission. We've had 2 meetings pertaining to the Hickory Hill, Rockwood Ledges, and Shenandoah packaging plants. We've come to the conclusion that, obviously shortages in the funds, that rates are going to have to be raised on that, first time since I believe it was 2011, correct, Mr. Ferraro? Current rates are $500 across the board on it. They will be raised respectively to Hickory Hill, $900 annual, Rockwood Ledges, $905, and then Shenandoah, $980. We had 2 meetings that was very well attended. I'd say 40 to 50 people at each meeting, residents from those streets. This affects only those streets that are on the packaging plants. We will go to 3 readings on this. Once it's passed, we will start the new billing for June, correct? That'll be on the July. Okay, sorry. Thank you. I thought it was June. The increase will be seen in the July and going forward on that. And that should allow us to do the capital improvements we need on that with all those funds running low. Anything else I should add?
You just indicated that you'll go to 3 readings on that. I know during the work session, there was a discussion, maybe 2 readings.
Yeah,
or 3.
maybe, okay.
I just don't want there to be any
Gotcha, okay.
issues. It's up for the legislation. It
Yeah,
could go
legislation.
today, the second.
May go to
reading,
second or third reading,
Yeah.
but it's got to go to second for sure on that. So we need to, doesn't need to be a public.
No,
Okay, gotcha on that one. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lallo. Did that do it then for that one then? Thank you, sir. On to public comments on matters not on the agenda today. This is when we open up to the public. If you have any questions or, I just see one person out there and he's shaking his head no, so we're good on that. On to old business. Ordinance number 25-0-16, second reading. An ordinance extending the agreement of economic development consulting services between Edward J. Eckert of E Squared Strategies LLC and the City of Kirtland and declaring an emergency. Any discussion on this?
I have just a couple of comments. I shared with council an email Saturday, and was just thinking that this contract that was written in 21 could possibly be revised. I do want to start off by saying I do appreciate all the work and all the money he's brought to the community. That's great. This role is definitely needed in the community. Somebody needs to be out there doing what he does. The thing that I'm bringing up is just more of a documentation side of things. In that current 21R45 that's referenced to our 25016, it had stated that, you know, we would council, well, it didn't say whether council would be receiving monthly updates on page 2, paragraph 3, but it would be nice to get those updates, or is this document amended to remove that sentence? Number 2, is this scope of services still applicable today, right? The city has moved 3.5 years past some of these points, and, you know, some of these major projects have been funded and are completed, right? We're in the process thereof. So there's the reporting side of it that I would like to see more of. And then there's, does this scope of services still fit with what the mayor and council are? Right? The mayor came to us asking us to renew a contract, and I'm looking at it and I'm asking those questions.
So yeah, thanks, Councilman Schultz. I would say related to, you know, you bring up a good point related to the, it talks about the 10-year comprehensive plan, I believe, in here. Obviously, that's not relevant at the moment. Although I do believe that the comprehensive plan now can be revisited at any point. I'm sorry, no, that was a charter commission. So that part is kind of not relevant. You're not wrong about that. I think in the context of this document, the monthly reports that Mr. Eckert had originally laid out in his kind of tenets here, I think that was in the context of a 6-month period, because that first contract was for 6 months. Now, I would say this, that I myself and or Mr. Lallo or Mr. Finaro or Mr. Courtney or all of us some weeks, you know, not only hear from Eddie weekly, but are working with him weekly. I invite the Council Committee for Economic Development certainly to you know, hold as many meetings as that committee would like. I think Eddie's probably here about 6 times a year. My personal opinion is I don't think we need him here every month. And you know, related to the email on Saturday, I think a lot of those, you know, a lot of what Eddie works on, and we've talked about this in these meetings, a lot of what Eddie works on are things that are kind of sensitive to potential, you know, transfers of property and sales and deals. So, you know, I think a lot of times when he comes here, he's coming here because I've asked him to come and give an update. But yet there's, you know, maybe not a lot he can say specifically other than kind of some of those broad-based notions that, you know, working on downtown development, working on, you know, grant funding for sewers. Obviously, that's, you know, that one's no secret because there's not a single property owner involved in that. So again, I'm open to hear from our council members. If they'd like Eddie hear more, if they need some more of a regimented monthly report, again, you know, that's going to be up to you guys.
I was under the assumption that he was providing monthly reports. Remember, we went over this last year, I thought. And he was saying, you know, he had mentioned he would try and come, and I know he said he came to 6 meetings, or you said 6 times.
That's a kind of a guess, you know, could be 4, could be 8, I don't know.
So what I'm proposing is every time, what we can do moving forward is anytime that Eddie is going to be at council or at a council meeting, we can meet and have a committee meeting a half hour before that specific meeting every single time so that we can get updated and on the same page.
I mean, when he comes to the meeting, I do appreciate that. Right, that's great. It's just maybe, and Mr. Lallo, touching on Mayor Potter's point, he's a contractor working on behalf of the city. When we discuss land deals, purchasing, that's covered by executive order. Does he still have that privilege?
So,
You know what I mean? Like, that we're open and transparent, and this is the contract he gave us. I understand the privacy
Yes.
of that transaction, and his report can be, there could be no report, right? So,
are you talking about like public record or executive session type situation? That's
we're covered by executive session when we want to buy or dispose of.
because you're a
property.
public body.
Right.
So the administration or third parties are not covered by the open meetings rules. Okay, the Sunshine Law, that's for public bodies. So whenever there's a public body that's going to meet, this council, that's when you have to have an open and public meeting, noticed and everything. And that all has to be on the record except for certain situations, which is covered by the executive session statute, right? And with the administration, every person on that side of the table, including myself, and Mr. Eckert, that they are not subject to council's requirement for an open meeting. So all of these people in the room can get together and meet whenever and wherever, and it's not, doesn't have to be a public setting.
Right, but the documents you create.
The documents you create are public records. Yes, that is correct. So is that,
Well, it was, I understand the sensitivity of a land transfer, right?
Mhm.
Got that
Yes.
in my day job, right? But it's understanding what can be put in writing to share with council that is not gonna spoil a deal, right? But it's also, the mayor is the executive of the city. He's come to us to approve a contract. It's his contract that he wrote. He said he'll provide monthly reports. I'm trying to hold him accountable to that. That's what I'm saying. Either remove that from the contract, right? If somebody were to say, Mr. Lallo, I would like the last 3.5 years of monthly reports from Mr. Eckert, the answer would be,
so I understand what you're saying, and okay, I'll provide monthly reports on my activities, specific objectives for these 6 months are as followed, right? So we can amend this to strike out that sentence. That's what you want.
well, no, it's his contract. I'm not going to write his contract.
No, because we're incorporating that by reference.
And-
So
and
we can modify.
If I could, just quickly, what I would say, just keep in mind, although it's not coming out of Eddie's mouth or it's not coming necessarily in an email from our economic development coordinator, you know, I'm positive every month we have some discussion, and I have discussion about things going on in terms of economic development. Those things are coming from Eddie, so in effect, I would say that is a report of sorts, just for
And
clarification.
that would also be accurate. Like, for example, a report, right? Like when we give the department reports, they don't have to be written, right? When we report to council, they don't have to be written reports. It could be, you know, an oral statement that provides a summary or update as to what's going on and what's been done over the last session. So it does not say written monthly reports. It just says provide monthly reports on my activities. But it, you know, this can, it
Well,
can be.
I'm asking the mayor, go back with him, and is this scope of services, some of these things, as you've mentioned, are kind of a little stale, right? But can the contract be more robust, or does it need to be more narrow? Is it fit for the time right now? You know what I mean?
I think outside of the comprehensive plan, which won't take place for another 7 years, and the reference to that in there, any one of these items on any given month could be, whether it's an assignment for me or something that just naturally, organically, Eddie's working on through, whether it's an email from Janelle or from Julia, new businesses. I mean, go down the list and find me one, and chances are I'll tell you that it's applicable today or could be in 6 months from now. So I think it is a little bit robust. And if there's something in there, that you don't think is necessary, and chances are, make that mention, and I'll consider, not having him not work on something like that.
I think we can change the wording to as needed. It's not like we're Columbus where there's something happening all the time. Like, have a guy come here once a month and say I have nothing new to report is a waste of time. And does a really good job, and when he can tell us what he can tell us is when we're told.
To that point with Mr. Hamer, and what Mr. Lallo said before about city's third-party capacity, when you have two private businesses, obviously I'm Smolak Machine and Willoughby, and I'm having negotiations with another private piece of property, that's not the public's business until that's finalized. So I guess that's kind of exempt from having to be reported, correct, so to speak?
Correct. So I think with Mr. Eckert's work, it would be for whether there's incentives or trying to coordinate to bring a new business in or things like that, but they don't want to necessarily publicize it until it's actually done, right?
Correct.
So, but if he's aware because he's the economic development coordinator, he might not be permitted to divulge that
Speak out,
information at
correct.
that point because of various multitude of potential issues. Yes.
Does that still hold true if he's talking about public funds being used in some type of subsidized manner?
Well, at some point, if the public funds are being used in some manner, it will come to council because council has to.
Oh, okay, so up
approve
until that point.
Correct,
Got it.
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, like TIF funding or, various other types of like property abatements, CRAs, whatever it might be, those could all be negotiated and worked with, developers or purchasers or whoever, but then it ultimately does have to come to council for their consideration.
I think at the end of the day, the point is well made. That is the spirit of the contract. It doesn't hurt to review and just make sure that the contract is reflective of the work that's being done, and we don't just pass the contract through every time we need to renew the contract without reviewing it to make sure that it still makes sense based on the spirit of what the job entails.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough?
Very well said.
To that point, Mr. Schultz, per your question, is there anything, do we want to do that tonight, or do we want the mayor to look into, do we want that language?
Well, I would just ask the mayor to go to
Okay.
Mr. Eckert and take a at it.
I don't think that should preclude council passing this tonight, though.
Okay, and so no amendments to that language from,
Well,
21
I don't care
dash
for
R
what's on
dash-
this piece of paper
okay,
relative as it stands, right?
Okay.
It mentions somebody on council who's no longer on council. It mentions other things. Should be updated in the whereas clauses from what Mr. Lallo presented us. It says we've reviewed it.
and Mr. Schultz, your question was,
Be noted that I think it was just noted that Councilman Lesnick, who this document references, is no longer on council. Do you need more than that to be noted?
I think the legislation reincorporates this by reference. And essentially what it's saying is all the essential tenets of this document are reincorporated into the scope of his services. That's it. So as it relates to pulling things out and narrowing in the scope of his work, I would recommend against that, because what if, like we talked about comprehensive plan, now we want to say, let's get a jump start on it and let's add this to the plan, or let's do this study in preparation for the plan. or something like that, or if we want to pull something else out, now he's, well, that's not part of my scope of duties, right? We previously had it, and now we're going to essentially pay him more or renegotiate a contract at that point. If anything, I would say, what else can be added? And I don't know of anything else that can be added unless there's other suggestions. But the reincorporation by reference is saying, all right, all the essential terms of the agreement are included, scope of services, that's what it is, and that's the purpose of that reincorporation by reference in our current legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Any other,
So even though it's a contract, I'm getting hung up on the fact that we're entering into a contract.
It's a proposal for services. It's not a contract, actually. It was a proposal for services. And yeah, it's
Contracts, the time frame, the money, what's on that piece.
okay. And okay. No,
I'm not here to argue or debate. I'm just asking the mayor to take it back to Mr. Eckert and
good on that?
I would personally ask that the ordinance or the resolution stand as it is, and certainly if there's things in here that I would rather Mr. Eckert not do, or a council person specifically would not want Mr. Eckert to do, please let me know. I think any reference to the comprehensive plan, just because it's not necessarily in process right now, it is a living kind of breathing document. As a matter of fact, I think council passed as part of that comprehensive plan a resolution that stated that maybe it wasn't a resolution, but certainly as part of the comprehensive plan, the council would kind of revisit that plan every so often to make recommendations and changes to that plan over 10 years. So thinking that out, I would say that kind of stands as well. I don't see any reason to hold this up for, revising some things that, I mean, first of all, he's going to do all of these things at any given time. And, Councilman Lesnick, like I said, he's not here anymore, but the reference to a councilman, it still applies to what that original conversation was. In conversation with Mayor Potter and Councilman Lesnick, this position would contemplate 48 hours of work per week, blah, blah, blah. So, all of that still applies. It was just a reference to a former council person. Go
I
ahead.
guess from a legal perspective, Matt, if he were to suddenly completely change who he's been to us and stop doing anything within this, because we haven't had it updated, are we putting ourselves as a city at risk?
not one bit.
Okay.
No, all this is doing is just discussing the scope of his service. All of it.
Okay.
I make a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Waive the third reading.
Waive the 3rd reading.
Mr. Hamer with the motion?
It's only the second reading.
Yeah, waive the third reading. This was the second reading, correct? Yeah, so we're waiving the third reading. Motion by Mr. Hamer, looking for a second.
Second.
Ms. Grazzi with a second, Janelle. Any more discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Scholes?
No.
Mr. Smolak?
Yes.
There was 5 votes, so there were 5 affirmative votes.
5 for affirmative,
So it does, now you have to.
No, yeah, motion
3 readings are waived, sorry.
to declare an emergency and to adopt.
You would need to entertain that motion.
I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Nope.
Motion to declare emergency and adopt.
Mr. Hamer?
Okay, so let's step back a moment.
Any
When
discussion?
Mr. Ziegler mentioned about having economic development committee meetings. That tied into this now, or?
I think I will just do that when we have the.
Yeah, I think that's an inherent right of a council person or a
Standing
council
committee.
chair committee.
I'm
Sorry, Eric. I can't hear you, Eric.
I will propose that when we go to make committee meetings. Isn't that like, so I will propose it when he comes. I mean, I guess I gotta get with the mayor.
Got to propose it prior to him coming so it can be noticed. Correct.
Correct, yeah, so prior to the next, like if you, let's say at the conclusion of this meeting, if you know Mr. Eckert's coming to the next meeting or the meeting after that, then what you would ask is Ms. Muscatello to notice the Economic Development Standing Committee meeting, or whatever the formal name is of that, to have a meeting at 6:30 on such and such a date to meet with Mr. Eckert.
I can do
to
that via
discuss-
email, right?
We'd have to do it before Ms. Muscatello puts the
notice out.
the notes out on Thursday, so it
I'll
has.
find out from the mayor when he's meeting.
He can ask her and ask the
We know when
committee
that
members,
comes, or when-
not in a meeting.
Correct, you're right, you're right. Yeah, Mr. Ziegler,
Yep.
it just, I was wrong when I said, like, at the close of the meetings, or, you'd have to know it during the meeting to notice for the next one. You do not. You can contact the members of that standing committee to say, hey, are you available to have a meeting prior to next council meeting to meet with Mr. Eckert to
And that can
discuss.
be sent to,
And then, yes, and then whenever you have a consensus on a day and time, then you could send Ms. Muscatello an email or contact her and say, all right, we're looking at a standing committee meeting at this time to discuss this purpose.
okay.
And ideally by Wednesday.
Yes, you'll need it by Wednesday before noon, prior to that meeting.
Okay.
Well,
So they don't leave it be a 24 hour.
no, I know. For the agenda, to make the agenda, it needs to be Wednesday at noon. But if you find out on, let's say, Saturday or Friday, you can always contact the city. And we just have to put the newspaper on notice at least 24 hours in advance. So we just have to send an email out.
For a committee meeting.
For the committee meeting, yeah. So, here, I know I'm talking all over the place. Standing committee meetings and non-council meetings, 24 hours notice are required, special meeting, okay? For council meetings, we have an agenda that's published. And our agenda must be published, I think it's 5 business days prior to, or 3 business days prior to the next meeting. So it's Wednesday is the deadline for council meetings. But because that's a standing committee or a special committee or wherever it might be, that would just be a special meeting which requires 24 hours notice. Understood? Sorry if I've confused everybody.
As we stand, we had a motion to waive the third reading by,
No.
Past that.
or sorry, a motion to declare an emergency and adopt was the last one by Mr. Hamer. We had a second by Julie or Sue? Sue Grazia. And any other discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
No.
Mr. Smolak.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I just thought of too, I would be caution deliberation or sending emails that could be construed as the beginnings of deliberation. Just remember that as we get ready to send emails to, more than another council person.
That's why I said in the email to be discussed today.
Yep.
Exactly.
Copied sheet. Oh.
Good with that? Okay, on to new business. Public comments on agenda items of new business. Any public comments on new agenda items? Not at this time, thank you. On to 25-R-21, a resolution approving the revised rates for sanitary sewer system charges for Hickory Hill, Rockwood Ledges, and Shenandoah subdivisions as determined by the Public Utilities Commission of the City of Kirtland and declaring an emergency. We're going on to a second reading on that one. To 25,
Mr. Small?
should I ask any conversation, any questions?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yep.
Any questions? On to 25-R-22, a resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2025 and declaring an emergency. I believe we needed, would ideally like that waived today because we need to get that in for May. Okay, and this was in the budget, so this is just approving, was already approved in the budget.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Okay, that was Mr. Ziegler with the motion to waive the three readings, and Ms. Grazia for the second. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Abstain.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Ms. Simons, we got a second? Ms. Grazia with the second. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Abstain.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. On to 25-R-23, a resolution amending resolution number 25-R-14 relating to establishing rules, time, and place of council meetings for the period from December 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2025, and declaring an emergency. And this is due to the change with the election, which is the first Tuesday of May. That's moving our meeting from Monday to Wednesday, correct?
The proposal is for Wednesday, but if, council needs to change
Yeah, it was
that-
Wednesday good, I guess, per what was requested before.
So just so everyone knows, I'm not, what's the date?
May 7th,
Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I am going to be here.
I will not, I will over it.
I do not believe I'll be here.
Okay, so Mr. Schultz, the only one so far that won't make that meeting then? Okay, and I'll double check with Ron. I didn't hear anything from him per email on that.
Correct, and Ron was the one that we discussed this with
Originally,
previously as
okay,
council president. So it's my understanding that he would be available.
okay.
I don't want to talk on his behalf, but
I'll double check with them and I'll put an email out if, but we still would have 5 even if Mr. Fenstermaker didn't make it for the next meeting, so. Okay, so per resolution 25-R-23, which basically just changes our date from the 5th to the 7th due to the election. I'm looking for a motion to waive the 3 readings.
So moved.
Who was that?
Mr. Schultz?
Mr. Schultz. Do I have a second?
Second.
Julie with a second. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Okay, and now I'm looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Mr. Schultz again, who was second? Ms. Grazia? Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Thank you. To resolution number 25-R-24, a resolution accepting the bid of Pat Flowers Incorporated for the striping of long lines of pavement markings on the city of Kirtland roads and declaring an emergency. Did we need that one waived, Mr. Fernaro? Okay.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Just curious, when will striping be done then? Will they start May or June? Oh, okay. Whenever they get, okay.
I will figure it out.
Thank you, Mr. Fernaro. Looking for a motion to waive the 3
Mr.
readings?
Schultz, motion?
You motion? Okay.
Yes, he's waiting.
Who was second?
Second.
Second? Julie? Okay, any discussion? Questions for Mr. Fernaro on that? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. Looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Simons and Mr. Schultz with the second. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia.
Yes.
Ms. Simons.
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler.
Yes.
Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes. To resolution number 25-0-25, an ordinance authorizing an advance of funds from the general fund number 100 to the wastewater treatment Rockwood Fund number 501 and declaring an emergency. This will go to a second reading.
Again, just entertain if there's discussion, question.
Yeah, any discussion on the matter? Mr. Fernaro and Lewis sent emails pertaining to that, how that's going to work. No discussion?
Do we need to recap for purposes of the count, because we haven't talked about it in a council meeting?
Well, I guess I could do a bit of a recap here. Basically, the city will be giving a loan of $25,000 out of the general fund because the Rockwood packaging plant has running near a zero balance. And with the passage of 25-0-21 or 25-R-21 with the raises to the utility rates on that will help offset, and that's the funding source to allow us to do that, which will pay back over the course of, I don't know, is it a set time, Mr. Bernal, that will get paid back into the general fund then? I don't know if they're, we could ask Mr. Slapnicker next week when he could just, we're going to second reading anyhow, so we'll get into more detail on that. So that's basically what that is. We're kind of in an emergency due to a couple pumps and various other things going wrong with the Rockwood plant over there. And Mr. Fernaro was spending like 3 days straight making sure we could flush the toilets. And we'll have Mr. Slapnicker can address that one in the second meeting over there. So any other discussion on that? Okay, on to number 25-0-26, an ordinance amending ordinance number 25-0-12 relating to the appropriations for the year 2025. This will also go to a second reading because that's kind of dependent on 25-R-21 and 25-0-25, which makes the appropriations changes those, and that will have to be approved, whether it's the second or the third meeting. Any discussion on that?
So do we have to pass that because we're declaring an emergency on it?
No,
No? Okay.
Yeah, no.
no, appropriations don't ever need an emergency measure.
Okay.
Those go into effect immediately. So the emergency, just to recap, declaring an emergency just allows that legislation to go into effect immediately upon the mayor's signature.
Otherwise, it's 30 days when you don't see that.
So that's the sole purpose of declaring an emergency, so that, for example, the Pat Flowers legislation, so that he can get that
And
authorization
Mr. Bernaro could
out to the company so that they could start, right away. That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Bernaro could order this all tomorrow, but once we pass this, whether it's the next meeting or the third meeting, you have 30 days, but it doesn't take effect till July with the rate increases in this instance. So, any other discussion on 25-0-26 going to a second reading? None at this time. On to council comments. Any council comments at this point?
I just wanted to express our condolences for the Viscasills. Jim Viscasil and Sharon, who passed about 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. They were probably our most attended
Not even
local
close.
residents
Not even
by
close.
far, and they were Sharon was very special to me, and they will both, or Sharon will be greatly missed, and I know Jim needs our community support as he's dealing with this. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you much, Mr. Ziegler.
I just had a resident contact me over the weekend. Question. So I know we had some conversation in the past after we had all that weather situation for days on end. We had talked about maybe brainstorming an idea of like, how do we get information out to the public when there's no way to communicate? Victims down there. So I don't know if we ever came, I mean, maybe I just went blank, but I don't know if we came to any type of resolution of any kind. If something like that should happen again, what are we going to do? Like, what can we do in advance to kind of tell people, okay, if we should have a situation like that again and people can't communicate up to the community states or need supplies or whatever. I mean, so she just wanted to find out if we had anything that works. I know we talked about it.
That's been discussed, but there's been no resolution pertaining to that.
And so beyond, obviously, to recap, because I don't know if your microphone was on.
Now?
Was it on when you were talking?
Yeah, but it was like.
Oh, okay, so it probably picked up the sound. So to recap, I'm sorry, so beyond social media, right, because not everybody has social media.
Well, and if the power's out, you necessarily can't charge your phones, and some of these older people don't use computers. So, for instance, if we said if the power goes out for, like it did then for a couple of days,
Up to 7
if you
days.
need updates on anything, or you need a place to go, or you need whatever, you know, the community center will be open for updates on anything that we know. I mean, I didn't know what to tell her. I told her we did talk about it. but
No,
we
I
don't
think
have
what,
any-
I think what you told her is is the right thing. But to do something more formal on our end, to just put something out to the public, right? In the event of an emergency, phone communication, internet, social media is not available. You know, I think I'll ask both chiefs, but we'd probably be getting some calls pretty quickly here. But again, that's assuming a phone can
That's
work.
the-
So
I'm just thinking like if they can't reach out to anybody.
Do we want them going up exclusively to the senior community center, or should it be both buildings?
it would depend on what they need.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
Or maybe it's here.
I guess the question is, it should almost be that it's guaranteed that either that building or this building will be open regardless what happens, so to speak. Mr. Chief Hutton?
Yeah, we spoke about this. Chief McAllister and I worked actually with Julie on this. And we sent Julie quite a bit of information from Lake County EMA. If you remember, there was a lot of information that was posted. I'm not sure if Julia or Teresa at that time was able to get things posted on the website, but all the information that we had talked about at those meetings is already out there for all, not just Kirtland, but all of Lake County. But if we wanted to have a building that we were going to use, it would have to be this building. The senior center,
Which makes sense.
the senior center does not have a generator. The fire stations, there's not always somebody there. And we've done it with this building where we've kept the lobby unlocked, you know, for charging, warming, and things like that. So if we wanted to, you
And I
know,
think
set
just to
something up
tell
like
them,
that,
they
you
can
know.
Know that there's a safe place to go if a 85-year-old widowed person's at home and the power's off, they can hop in their car and know that they can come here and it's open, and if they need assistance of any kind, somebody will be here. I think they just need to know that there's going to be I mean, we know we can always come here, but just to kind of get the word out.
Ms. Grazia, if you could remind me, I could even include something in my Kirtland Chronicle. Just, you know, summer storms coming. We had a bad power outage last year. Just a reminder to folks that, you know, if communication is not available, you know, please report, you know, come to City Hall kind of thing. And we can assist in any way at that time.
Yeah, just so they have a place to go if they need to.
Or Joe Smolek's basement.
Oh, we're ready to go, baby. We're locked, stocked, and loaded over there, so. Food, supplies, everything, so.
And then there was just one other thing. So also, in Rocking Horse, they are working on,
The gas Enbridge line.
it's gas.
Yeah, that's the Enbridge, the former Dominion East Ohio gas they're working on
Right,
over
so
there.
the original, I guess, station, I don't know what you would call it.
Substation, yeah, they're expanding.
substation is not big enough. They're not
Yeah,
going to be
right.
using it at all anymore.
I think they're doubling the size for it right now.
So that, she had called me about that, and I kind of went to think as to
Yeah,
exactly what that was.
They were at the last PNC meeting, kind of finalizing, right, putting the buildings, and Mr. Courtney could speak on that a bit more, where we were at on the,
Can you please, Doug, so I can talk intelligently to her?
Yeah, they got their final development plan approval at the last P and Z meeting for that work. And I think, were you at that meeting, Matt? No, you weren't.
I think Mr. Morone was.
Yes. And I think they just have some final building materials, siding, shingles, fence color, fence type to work out with the residents. And they're supposed to report back what those selections are. Yeah, they're, we issued the zoning permit yet? No?
Not yet. They were granted the conditional use permit as well.
Right.
what was the estimated, was September, October for completion? Or was it earlier than that? I can't remember. I don't recall.
I think they're going to get pushed late into the year.
Oh, okay, okay.
with the timing of the approvals and everything. But
I can't recall, I remember asking the gentleman, that substation, I didn't realize how large of an area that supplies like 150
very
mile
large
radius
area,
around here or
yeah.
something?
pardon?
Doesn't like 150 mile radius that supplies?
I don't remember them
South Ashton
specifically
fuel
mentioning
line
a
thing
radius, but it sends gas in all directions from that point. Yeah.
I do know that they've worked very well with the city and with the residents to make sure that their plans not only comply with the city's codes, but with the likings of those neighboring residents as well. So they've gone through great lengths to try to ensure that they're cleaning up that property, making it nice and presentable for them.
Won't be too much light or too late, that type of stuff also, correct?
Thank you.
Chief Hutton and Chief McAllister, for that last outage, that we had, that was the week long in Sunflower. How long was City Hall out for? How long do we have any issues with the generator back then? We were only out, 2-3 days here, I believe?
Yeah, we weren't out very long over here. Our generators kicked on immediately, so we had power right away, which is why we opened the building up as a charging station. Just going back to that, I think I write for the newsletter for the community center as well, and for the seniors. So my next article in there, I can address that, and we can open this up to them as a charging station. I also have the ability, I can run a cable line from our building to the TV that's in the lobby to do news and other things like that if they need to be updated on local stuff. So we can do everything on our end to make sure that they at least have a place that they can go to and feel comfortable.
I think they went, they would, just for this citizen, just, if there's any kind of updates, like we've got power on this part of the town, and working on this part of town. The neighboring communities are, this one's down, just so that they have a place to get information. Whether it's something somebody can put together quickly and put it on the windows whatever, just a place to kind of keep updated.
Yeah, a lot of what we do, because we'll put those things out on Facebook, which we did some of that. Those things are easy enough to print out and also post out here in the lobby.
Right, but so probably the ones that are in most need of information probably don't go on Facebook or.
Oh, that's fine. So
What's that?
She's saying we post it on the door.
I'm saying in advance,
they
let them
can-
know if there is any type of situation like that. City Hall will be open and available for charging, for updates on, any updates that
Heat
they are.
out, AC out, come up to City Hall, correct?
We have questions.
Yes, because.
Mr. Fernaro, I'm sorry. Mr. Fernaro?
I think the last time we talked, we need to look into 2 message boards. So you could post one up at 6 and 306 and one in front of City Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Fernaro.
Electric message.
That's all.
Alistair, when you do your update for the senior center, I know when it all happened, we had several questions related to filling oxygen tanks. So if there's room to kind of mention that the services do exist with the fire stations to do that, and they just need to contact the non-emergency number to make arrangements. I think that's how we had phrased it last time, so. I just know I got a lot of questions about it, so
no, we can absolutely do that. I'll work with the fire chief and we'll put something together for everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Any other council comments? Continuing concerns? None at this time? Looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.